Hello everybody, and I've just realised I don't know what episode we're on. Hello everybody and welcome to the 70th episode of the MyMuddlings podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate that you guys keep coming back and that you're nice and patient with me as I'm going through my various personal issues that I have. I'm feeling a bit better today. I had a fantastic therapy session on Tuesday, and she really helped me. My therapist really helped me to see where some of my anxiety and depression is coming from that I'm suffering from at the moment. So she's helped me get to the bottom of it and has pretty much prescribed that I cry. So it's over some personal stuff that I'm not going to get into here. It's quite private, and yes, so she's basically prescribed me the permission to cry. So yeah, that's what I guess I'll be doing. Probably not today though, because I actually have made the effort to put on a face of makeup. So I think I'll stick to the laughing today. But yes, thank you so much for the lovely messages that people left for me, wishing me well and telling me to look after myself. I have been. Thank you very much. It meant a lot that you cared enough to drop me a line. It was really lovely. Thank you. So here I am today. I was thinking about podcasting. Marion is inside. I will try and cancel her out, but you'll probably hear her from time to time. We've been having really odd weather. Our forecasts haven't been desperately accurate. Today they're telling me that it's going to be 22 degrees Celsius, so I don't know where that's coming from, seeing I think yesterday was 14. It's quite cool at the moment. I am only in a long sleeve t-shirt, but I did do the mowing of the front lawn this morning, so I did get quite warm doing that. Today as well, the reason that she's in is we've had very high winds forecast, and they've told us that we are likely going to have dust storms. So I'm a little bit concerned about my husband today. I may have spoken before that Simon has asthma. He hasn't had an attack for a very long time because he's got it pretty well under control, and he avoids the things that are triggers. Hence why I have to mow the lawn when he's at work, because the fumes from that will actually bring on an asthma attack. And yeah, they said on the news this morning to be aware of asthma sufferers with these dust storms that we're supposed to be having. So yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about him. He does have his puffer on him. He's had his preventative this morning, plus he's got his Ventolin, so hopefully he'll be okay. He does work in a warehouse which is open to the outside, so if the dust storm does come through, hopefully he'll be able to go and hide in the office and hopefully stay away from that and be okay. He has asked me to keep my phone near me today, so I do have that. I have put it on silent though, in case anything that's not him comes through will not interrupt the podcast. I might just adjust myself and get a little bit more comfortable. There we go, that's better. I'm just crossing my legs on the sofa. I do like to have my legs up underneath me on the sofa, so I thought I'd do my podcast out here because it's kind of, to me, it kind of harkens back to the start of the podcast, which was, oh gosh, probably over two years ago actually. I think it's just been 2 years in June. I don't think I released my first episode until July, but I did record it at the end of June. So it has been 2 years since I've been doing this, which is quite exciting, and I've hit episode 70, so there we go. So that's pretty fun. Something else that I would like to say is, for all of you who supported my Tits Out Collective initiative, thank you very much. I was able to donate $150 yesterday to Beyond Blue, which is a mental health information and support website, organisation, that's the word I'm looking for, here in Australia. I filled in the Google form today for Countess Ablaze, and I think tomorrow, August the 3rd, we will be finding out what the total was, and If you follow Countess Ablaze, you will probably have seen that she did a finish up the initiative raffle, and she had, I think, enough, what was it, she wanted to raise at least £1 per person involved in the initiative, so that was 287 people you know, were part of the initiative, offering products and designs and things that were inspired by her original Tits Out Collective colourway. And she made, I think it was, in the end, it was almost about £8,500, and like, mind-blowing. I can see why she was just so like overwhelmed and you know, mind blown about that, because that's just incredible. The support for the initiative has just been amazing, and I'm waiting with bated breath to hear what the total was. Altogether, I did donate $150 yesterday, but I did sell another skein since then, so that's another $6 that I will be eventually donating to Beyond Blue. And if you would like to grab some of the very last skeins, I do have, I think, 3 left in the shop now. So I have 2 on my confetti base, which if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen. It is a tweed yarn, and it has coloured nep in it rather than the brown and cream that you generally have. It's all blues and yellows and reds, and that's the nep is all coloured. So I have 2 skeins of that with heavy tits, and I have 1 skein on my yakety yak base, which is a merino silk yak, which had to be reskeined. So if you want to see what the colourway looks like, although it's not quite accurate because the yak is is a very grey-brown base colour. So those 3 skeins are still in the shop. I believe I've sold out of just my the test one that I did, the more pink one, the tits version. I believe that's all gone now. So yeah, I've got 3 skeins left, so if you want to help to bring my total up to $174 total going to Beyond Blue, please do. I would love that. So I've done quite a bit of blather on there, haven't I? Have a sip of my coffee. But anyway, I've got so much to talk about. I have been fairly, let me just pick up my phone so I can have a look at my Ravelry projects and make sure there's nothing I've forgotten. I have, I don't know how much I've done since I last spoke to you all, because as you know, I had a bit of a gap. But I think I know. I think I showed you all my Overlander app. I really don't know. But things that I have been doing lately that I can remember is I have a FO, and I'm pretty sure I showed you all my sample knits. Yes, I was talking about my sample knits for Jess of the Sweater Collective and Claire of We Love Knitting, her yarns, and I actually forgot to take photos of my finished object of the Overlander shawl or wrap, and because I was in such a rush, got makeup in my eye, because I was in such a rush to get it done and get it to Jess, because I did have to re-knit the Daintree shawl that I did, and I had to actually rip out 5 inches of the Overlander wrap as well, so I was really pushing it for the deadline, and I frantically sent Jess an Instagram message. I think she was on her way to Bendigo, sending her this message going, I didn't take photos of the Overlander shawl. She's like, oh, that's okay, I'll try and get some while we're, you know, at the show. So Claire, I believe, took some on her fancy new iPhone X or iPhone 10, I don't know what they call it. I've only got a 7, so, you know, I'm a little behind the times. yes, she took some lovely photos using portrait mode, so I might pop those in now so that you can have a quick squiz. Yeah, it turned out really nice. Like, even though I said that I hated the orange and the yellow, I was actually really happy at the end with how the overall project did look. I thought it looked really good. And yeah, Claire took a couple of lovely photos for me, so they're up on my project page now. I did finish another pair of socks. They were kind of a surprise gift for one of my lovely customers who's pretty much supported me from the very beginning. So I started dyeing in September 2016, and she's pretty much been with me from the beginning, and she was saying that she was struggling to knit socks. So I said to her, well, I'll knit you a pair of socks. So I used a skein of Finch yarns that I've had in my stash, because I've got so much Finch yarns, because they're friends of mine. I like to support friends, and yes, I've had so many skeins, so I knit up a pair of socks for the lovely Leanne. If you're watching, Leanne, hi, I hope you're enjoying the socks. And this, I believe, was, I can't remember the base, the Finch Yarns base, but it was their colourway Pinky Dinky Doo, which I think is a repeatable colourway. I'm not entirely sure. I know Lavinica said to me that she was a little, her and Letitia were a little bit on and off with recording their dye formulas, so I don't know whether it's a repeatable colourway. However, yeah, it's some Finch yarns, and Leanne, I hope you're enjoying them. And hi, Finch yarns ladies, if you are watching. So that was another FO. I obviously, like I said, have already sent them off to Leanne. They were a little bit of a surprise. I didn't want her to see them before she got them. So I believe she's happy with them. So yay, Leanne. I'm so glad you're happy. And yes, what else from there? Let me just have a quick look, because I'm blind and I'm not wearing my glasses. Yeah, pretty much then it was just Leanne's socks and these socks for Simon. So these are not my regular vanilla sock. These are knit from Knit Picks Stroll in their Inverness tonal colourway. I don't know whether this is still available, because I know they've been discontinuing and creating new colours and things like that, but this is a really, really beautiful dark blue, like a few different shades of blue. I think there's a bit of black in there. It could just be a very dark blue, and there's a bit of green in there as well. So what I did with these is, this is probably my second favourite heel that I have knit, and these are toe-up socks. So if you've been following for a while, you know that I tend to do cuff-down socks. But I felt like something different, and yeah, these are based on, well, they essentially are the Time Traveller socks, and I believe the designer's name is Liz Sedmak. I'll put it in the show notes. I haven't created show notes yet, but I will create them as I edit this podcast. So yeah, they're called Time Traveller, and they were, I believe, knit from, the originals were knit from Knit Picks Felici, because this pattern works quite well with the striping, because you end up in the section of the heel uses 2 stripes of the yarn, so you essentially get full whole stripes. You just miss those 2 in the sequence on the heel. So basically, I don't know what this heel is called. I don't know if you can really see, because it is so dark. But you increase and you create this wedge. I assume maybe it's just like a toe-up gusset. I don't know. Yeah, so you increase along here. You might be able to see that line just there. And you create this wedge of fabric, which you then do like a triangle heel. So you kind of decrease. So yeah, I'm not sure. That could be a toe-up gusset. I'm really not sure, but I quite like this heel. I know I usually do the Fish Lips Kiss, so that's my other favourite heel. I usually do the Fish Lips Kiss because I usually do cuff down, and it's so easy just to pop one in. But yeah, I felt like doing something different, so I did these Time Traveller socks. The only thing is the Time Traveller socks actually have a rib pattern over the top. I'm not a fan of rib. I've probably said that before. I'm really not a fan of rib. So I just did the ribbing in the cuff as usual. And I believe the pattern also only has a 1x1 rib on the cuff. I don't like 1x1 rib. 2x2 rib I can deal with, but not 1x1. So yeah, 2x2 rib, and basically just leaving out the ribbing across the foot, the pattern across the foot. And it's not just a 1x1 or 2x2 rib on the foot. It is actually like, you know, you purl one, you knit one, you purl one, you knit three. Like, it's actually a pattern. It's a free pattern, so I'm not giving away any secret sauce. You can just go and have a look. If you can't remember what it's called, just go into my projects. I'll take photos of these shortly, because I made them and I gave them to him and he hasn't worn them yet, but I just pulled them out of the couch where they'd sunk in, where he'd left them after I gave them to him. So I will photograph these after I have recorded. So yeah, I actually have more of this yarn. I used it for my Aislinn shawl, who was by Justina Lukowska. I'll put in a picture so that you can see. I actually used this colourway as the contrast on my shawl. The main colour they actually have discontinued, and I'm devastated. Because I actually got extra of that other colour. It was called Shale, and I knit a Flax Light, which I actually need to repair because I ripped a hole in it. And I love that colour. So I actually bought a whole 4 skeins of this colour too to knit another Flax Light. So that's definitely coming down the pike, because I love the fit of my Flax Light and I really missed having it to wear. Because I don't know what you guys are like, but I love making things, and I will do that until the cows come home. But I hate fixing things. My God. Fixing things is just the worst. And I mean, the thing is the hole is very small. I believe it's only 1 or 2 stitches on one row that I need to fix, or possibly 1 or 2 stitches above and below each other, which is a little bit more painful. And I'm really, what's the word? I'm not angry, because that's pointless, but miffed, I suppose, because it happened, I think it happened at our last house, because our last house was a complete dump. So this house is so much nicer. People poo-poo this house, like the agents and the owners poo-pooed this house, but this is like 200% better than our last house. We had paint peeling off the walls in our last house. And anyway, they had, every door handle had those round handles with the push button in the back to lock them. But the front, they didn't have keys. They just had those little, they're basically like discs with just like a screwdriver slot in it, so that if anybody locks themselves in, you can just pop it open with a screwdriver. And I think somebody had done that, and they had made absolute mincemeat out of that little metal disc that you could just put the screwdriver into, and it was all like peeling back, and it was sharp on the edges, and I caught myself on that stupid handle so many times. And I think that's actually what happened to my Flax Light jumper. I think I just caught it on that stupid handle, because it was only one. It was one out of the entire house that had this rough edge on it. And yeah, I think that's what actually happened to my Flax Light jumper. So I've only ever done 1 lot of darning before, and that was on a sock that I found a bit of it was getting bold, like it was getting really thin. And I think maybe one stitch had died. It had been, you know, infinity wared away. It had just disappeared. So yeah, I really need to darn that because I do love that jumper. I was very proud of that jumper, and it's so comfortable, and it's just the right weight as well for our weather. I think fingering weight jumpers are perfect for our weather. So anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, wasn't it? Let me think. What else have I been knitting on? I have been knitting on a couple of things. I've been fairly monogamous, actually. I've been quite a good girl. And I'm working on an old whip, believe it or not. But before I talk about that, because that's the most recent thing that I've been working on, I will get out my oakwood poncho. So I showed you all this last time I spoke to you, I'm pretty sure. And I have since finished the back of the poncho. It's rolled up a little bit at the bottom, but you can probably see the blue down there. And that is, I've put my stitches on holds. This is my neck edge, and then I've got my right front, so they're put on separate holds. And, you know, probably stupidly, because this is wool of the Andes tweed, it felts really well. Like, I've done felted joins through this whole thing. So it's probably not the best yarn for me to put my stitches on hold with and having abrasion, but, you know, whatever. Let's live on the wild side. So I've started down my right front, and I have to say, the back of this I loved because it was literally stockinette. It was just knit, purl. I could read my Kindle. I could watch the TV. You know, I didn't need to look at what I was doing. But now, this has short rows in it and brioche. Brioche I'm fine with. I'm hugely comfortable with brioche. It's not a problem. But short rows on brioche, a little bit tricky. Plus, I need to have, what's it called? My stitch counter on my phone open all the time so I can keep track of rows and repeats and things like that, because it's not something that I can just do in my head. So that's painful as well, having to have my phone out and be pressing the button just to keep track of what row I'm on, so I make sure I put my short rows in the right spot. So I've got my super duper cute little camera progress keeper. Is she showing her face? I think she is. That I made out of polymer clay. So basically how it's working is that it's a 4-row repeat. 2 of them are just backwards and forwards. So 3 and 4 is just front, back. But 1 basically has a short row in between. So you do row 1, you do a short row back to the end, and then row 2 back to the, like, right back to the end. So that essentially is making this brioche section here longer than the rest. So I assume it's because it's going to hang down at the front because it's got the step intarsia on it. I've never done intarsia, so that's going to be interesting. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit longer just in the front brioche sections. So I've put this down for a little while now. Probably haven't worked on this for, definitely not this week, possibly not since last week. Because yeah, the short rows are kind of killing me. And it's really hard to figure out. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it because this stitch here, so I've got a marker, I don't know if you can see it, but this stitch here is literally just a purl on a knit on the right side, a purl on the wrong side, and it's right next to a brioche stitch. And the thing is this stitch is the one that's getting wrapped for the short row, and because of brioche, you know how you basically you put like a yarn over that gets knit together with the stitch. This one, I don't know. I don't know how to say this. I'm unsure which way to wrap the stitch for the best result because it's not actually said in the pattern. It just says wrap and turn, go back, and then when you come back, purl it together with the stitch. So I've been experimenting with the different ways, and I'm not super happy with the consistency of this stitch. It comes and goes with the quality of it, and I don't love it. I'm hoping that it will block out eventually. But yeah, it's kind of a bit tricky. I kind of wish that they actually said in the pattern which way round we're supposed to wrap it, because I've tried both ways. I think I know which way is better. But yeah, it's been a bit tricky. So yeah, I've kind of burnt out a little on this, because I love the brioche. The brioche is fine. But yeah, it's like I said, it's those short rows within the brioche which makes it slightly less entertaining. It takes more brain power, shall we say, and I can't read a book or anything like that while I'm knitting on this. I now need to virtually concentrate on it, which is kind of a bummer. But it's lovely, it's beautiful. I still love the yarn. It's lovely and squishy in the brioche. So yeah, this will get done, although I think I may have been a little bit optimistic with saying that I wanted to get it done by the end of winter, because yeah, I've kind of burnt out on it a little bit, or even though I still think it's beautiful. So this will get done eventually. I mean, it is one of only 2 projects that I'm working on currently, apart from a new craft, which I will talk about later as well. I keep teasing things, don't I? giant craft tease. I guess next I can talk about something that I have been working on. Now, this is my project that I started, I believe, in April 2016. And I know you hand spinners out there are probably going to be really annoyed with me. It's actually hand spun, and I know that you're not supposed to let your hand spun marinate for too long in your stash. However, like I said, this has been on the needles since April 2016, so of course the yarn was spun before that. But anyway, it's not falling apart, it's not disintegrating on me, so I think I'm going to be okay. But this is the Vivid Blanket, which is by Tin Can Knits, and I am just going through with hand spun, and this hand spun was made from a Kaylee pack, which is by Hilltop Cloud in Wales. Yeah, she has packs. I can't remember what I think Hireth, I think is the other one, but I got the Kaylee pack. And I basically found out about Hilltop Cloud through Isabel of Fluffy Fibres, because she had one of the Hireth packs. So thanks, Isabel, if you're watching. Hi. Yeah, so I found Hilltop Cloud through Isabel, and she didn't have any of the Hireth in stock at the time that I jumped onto her website, so I got a couple of the Kaylee packs, and I basically spun this quite thin, or as thin as I could. I don't know if you can quite see that, because the pattern is for a fingering weight, and I mostly got close to a fingering weight. I don't think I was a very experienced spinner. I think I only started spinning in about November 2015, so I wasn't hugely experienced when I started doing this, but it was kind of a treat, because this is, I can't actually remember what the blend was. I'll see if I can pull it up on my phone. Alright, so this blend has 45% merino wool, 25% BFL, 12% Shetland, 12% soy silk, and 5% Angelina. So it's quite a blend. And it is a beautiful yarn. I really, really love it. And so basically I dug this out again. I had only had, I think I had 1.5 of the pink, so I now have 2 of these. I'm thinking I can probably only get 2 of each square of all of the colours, because I've actually run out of, I was on my 3rd square of my blue and I ran out, so I've put it on holders. So I have 2 pink, I have 2 and a bit blue. I have I have 2 of this rusty colour that you've already seen, and I managed to get 3 out of this eggplant colour, so I'm not sure what I'll do with the final one, because I may only, you know, because that blue has kind of thrown a spanner in the works, because if I can't get 3, then I can't have 3 of each colour in my blanket. However, I could probably make up like my 16 squares, and then if I can get to, you know, something that's divisible by 4 or 5, so I could maybe have a 5 by 4 or something like that. If I can make that up with the extra squares, I will. But to start with, I'm just doing 2 of each and just putting the rest back in my bag. So those are the ones that I have finished there, and I have one that I'm currently working on. So these are started from the center and they are knit out. That's a pinhole cast on in the middle, and Tin Can Knits actually link, I think they have a tutorial on their website that they link to in the pattern. So I have memorized it now. And yes, because I'm not a DPN lover, and I don't want to do this on Magic Loop, but these are my Knit Picks, I think it's Caspian, the Caspian wooden needles. I'm actually a big fan of Knit Picks wood needles, the laminated wood, because, you know, I don't like bamboo. I mostly use metal, but if I am going to use wood, I like this laminated wood. So I nearly lost these on the bus the other night coming back from Knit Night with Jess. And Jess saved my bacon. She was able to jump down and and grab them off the floor of the bus. So thank you, Jess. Because I was pretty sad. We found 4 of them and then we couldn't find the 5th one. And looking down on the bus at night time in the dark, you know, with just the lights in the bus, it was a little hard to see. But Jess managed to jump down, and I said, "Oh, that's it there." And she goes, "No, it's not." She goes, "It's a seal in the floor." I'm like, "No, that's it." And it was the needles. So we managed to get them back. But yeah, once I get through, because as you see, there's you have the lace and then you have a garter stitch border. Once I get through the lace, I put it on a circular needle. I don't think I have my needle handy, but yeah, I put it on a circular needle so I can just go around a 16-inch, so I can just go around and do the garter stitch part with a little bit more ease than doing it on this, because eventually, I mean, these needles are only, what are they, 8 inches maybe? They get a little bit short, so the stitches get too long, so it's good just to chuck it on the 16-inch circular. So that's pretty much what I've been working on knit-wise, is just these squares, because I can't actually finish the blanket as yet because I have got some more Hilltop Cloud fibre sitting in my stash that needs to be spun to knit a border, and potentially to go around each square and have like a border in between. And I purchased, it's not black, it's like a very, very dark grey, like a charcoal grey. So that's what will be the ultimate border of the blanket, and potentially I might put just a couple of rounds or do a crochet join or something for the squares so that there's a black border in between each. I haven't quite decided yet, but I haven't spun that yarn either, so yeah, this is not something that is going to be finished ASAP, because yeah, I haven't actually finished spinning all the yarn for it yet. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I've been knitting on. And something that I realised I haven't actually told you about is also here, and it is also made out of Hilltop Cloud handspun. And if you remember, I think it was early last year, early 2017, I think, I came out with my very first knitting pattern, which was the Amelia Beret. And Amelia is named after my niece. And I was so pleased with it, and I always wanted to do a matching cowl to go with it, and potentially I might even do some mitts because I do have quite a bit of this yarn left. Basically, you have a panel of the lace and the rest is stockinette. So I knit this, and I busted this out in a day. It took no time at all. And this is my Hilltop Cloud hand spun again. It's about, this one came out, my original came out a little bit more like a worsted. This one came out more of an Aran kind of weight. So, but that's all right. So I don't have a proper yardage for it yet because it is in the hand spun, and I didn't actually label my skeins, so I didn't know which skein was the one that I used. So I'm going to have to re-knit this in some other worsted or DK weight yarn just to get you know, that I have a known yardage for. But yeah, I've written up the pattern, so I'll need some testers for this sooner or later. So if you are interested, please do let me know, either on the comments here, or probably best to go over to Lovebird Lane's Ravelry group. I'll put a thread in there just to gauge interest. So if you are interested, head over to Ravelry and just give me a short note saying that you'd be interested in testing this. I will knit another one in worsted weight of known yardage first, so that I can give you all an approximate yardage for this. So yeah, it's basically knit. I knit this at the same gauge, same size needle as my original hat. And because this was worsted to Aran weights, not all of it was Aran weight, it's about the same gauge as the hat. So therefore the lace pattern should be fairly similar to the hat. So yeah, if you are interested, please do let me know. I'm looking forward to getting that out. I've actually had the pattern written up for a really long time, and it's just because I haven't gotten around to knitting that second sample, so I can get a yardage for everybody, that is kind of holding me back. So once that gets done, I will be doing a testing call. But yeah, I'll open a thread if I remember. If I don't remember, just start one yourself. Yeah, to gauge interest if anybody would like to test that for me. So that's my knitting. If you follow me on Instagram, which you may do at these places here, you will have seen that I have a new craft, and I've been completely enabled by many people. Isabella Fluffy Fibres is one. Kristen of Yarngasm and Wool and Vine Yarns is one. A few new Instagram friends that I have are also enablers, and I have begun weaving. Now, I'm pretty sure if you look back through my podcast, you will have heard me say I'm not interested in weaving. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Because I'm actually really enjoying it. And I have since purchased 2 looms. Not 1, but 2. One of which is a rigid heddle loom. So I've gone all out. But my very first weaving project, I don't have it on a dowel, and it's a little bit manky, and it's a little bit hourglassy, but this was my very first weaving project, and I just basically took some fingering weight scraps that I had. I made a super ghetto loom out of an espresso box, and I just put little 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch slots at the top and the bottom so that I could warp my yarn. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It's, like I said, it is a little it's a first weaving. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with it though. I really it's quite cute. I think I would actually put it up on the wall eventually. I just need to get a dowel and get some command hooks to put on the wall. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it. And from that, I went onto eBay and I found a wooden loom, much the same, hand loom, and I purchased that, and I have got a weaving on it currently. I haven't quite finished it, it's nearly done. It's right next to my brand new rigid heddle loom, which I received yesterday. And again, if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that I'm already weaving on it. I got it yesterday, I put it together, ripped the crap out of my knuckle because I couldn't get the screws to go in because I didn't have any candle wax. They say to put candle wax on there to help make it easier, but I didn't have any. All I had was tea light candles, and I didn't really want to be putting a screw in my tea light candle. So I had a bit of a tougher time putting it together than I probably should have because I didn't have the wax. It's beginning to get a little bit dark outside. I hope it's not the sandstorm. I'll have to go and run and close the back doors. Yeah, so I gouged my knuckle out a little bit, but eventually I got it together, and I received it yesterday morning. I put it together yesterday morning. It took me about half an hour to build it. And then, because I had my last batch of Tits Out Collective yarn to dye for the pre-orders, I had to stop playing with the loom and go and dye some yarn, which is fine. I'm actually a little bit sad that it was my last batch of Tits Out Collective yarn. But yeah, so I dyed that up, and then I pretty much got to warping, and I have to say that was a bit of an ordeal because I have a small house. Some people would probably describe it as a tiny house, although not a tiny house that's on wheels. It's only, I think, not quite 84 square meters, so it's quite a small home. And we don't have a dining room table because we don't have space. We had to sell our dining room table. Actually, I think we ended up giving it away because nobody would buy it. Yeah, we don't have a dining table. We don't have large spans of room. And if you are familiar with warping a rigid heddle loom with a warping stick, yeah, you kind of need to have quite a long distance. So I warped it it was quite hard in my craft room. And thankfully, because I'm only doing like a scarf length, I was able to get the full length from the back of my desk to the warping peg. So I was able to do it. It wasn't fun. So I think in future I'll probably get my warping board that I use for self-striping and use that to warp my loom. I don't know if you guys can hear, but Granger's just laying down on his bed here and he's snoring. So if you hear some snoring, it's Granger. Yeah, so I think in future I'll use my warping board, especially for longer lengths, because I believe that was built with a meter in between each peg, so I should be able to pretty much work out the distance quite easily on that. It's either a yard or a meter, I can't remember. So yeah, I've done some weaving, and I thought, you know, I bought, what did I get? I got the 24-inch Ashford rigid heddle loom. I was looking at maybe getting a sampler because a lot of people have those. And then I was thinking about, I'm going to sneeze. Yeah, so I was thinking about the sampler or the rigid heddle looms. They're about the same price. The rigid heddle are slightly more expensive, and they have more larger size options. And basically the reason that I purchased the rigid heddle was because there's a couple of things, I can't remember what they are now. I know what one of them was. They are able to be customized in the future more than the sampler loom can. there's a thing called a freedom roller, which basically is an extra roller that you can add to the loom if you're doing super long or bulky weaving, so that you've got extra space to wind on your finished object. So I thought, because the rigid heddle, like the ones that are called rigid heddle loom, because they have 3 of the rigid heddle type. They have the samplet, they have the rigid heddle, and then they have the knitter's loom, which is still a rigid heddle loom, but they call it the knitter's loom. I'm not 100% sure on the differences. The knitter's looms, I believe, are more expensive, so I didn't want to go Granger's up and wandering around. I didn't want to go the full expense of that, but I didn't really want to limit myself to the 16-inch either, so I went for the next one, so that kind of meant that the samplet was out, because that's only a 10-inch and a 16-inch. What do you want? Go away. Back on your bed. Yeah, so I went for the 24, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the size. I have been doing a lot of research and watching of tutorials, so I felt like I was almost an expert before I even got it. So I would say to anybody who's thinking about getting one, definitely go onto YouTube, definitely go onto yarnworker.com. That's Liz Gibson's website. She is amazing. She has so much free information, and she's like a lovely, she feels very approachable, like she's very, even though she's online, so I'm not actually talking to her, but yeah, she's got a very nice sort of personality that explains things very clearly. She has a weaving school that you can find through her website, and they have free weave-alongs, and I've actually joined up and I enrolled in 2 of them. So they don't remain free forever, I don't believe. They will have a small fee, but if you do enroll in them before they, you know, while they're still going, you get them free forever. So I found, even if you're not going to weave what she's showing you, they are still like absolute wealths of information. So I would recommend anybody who's sort of getting into the rigid heddle weaving, definitely check that out, because I just got so much information from it, and yeah, she's really good teacher. So I think if you want to get into your weaving, definitely check out Liz Gibson's website, yarnworker.com. So yeah, that's probably all I can really talk about at the moment. I'm pretty much just working my first piece on the loom and getting used to, you know, how hard to beat, and things like trying to neaten up my edges, because yeah, they're not great in the very first part of what I have been weaving, but I believe that they are getting better. I feel like I've pretty much got down the idea. I don't always hit it every time, but it's getting a lot better. So yeah, I'm quite enjoying that. I spent a lot of time yesterday on my new loom. I even left Simon out here to his own devices to play his video games while I went and did some weaving last night. So that was pretty fun. So yeah, hopefully I can get that finished fairly soon, and I can pull it off and give it a wash and see how it turned out. I think I have a few issues with my warping tension, so I think I'll need to do a little bit more trial and error and research on warping tension, because yeah, I think there's what Liz calls soft spots, because when you put your hands on it, like, it felt fine when I first warped it, but I don't know if I didn't wind it on well enough or something, and it's kind of got little soft spots on it, but I don't really care. It's my first ever rigid heddle weaving project. So yeah, it's really not bothering me. I'm sure a lot of my issues with the edges and things like that will come out in the hot wash, and it'll all be fine. So it'll be completely serviceable, let's put it that way. So I think I possibly should leave it there. I hope you have enjoyed. Please remember to hit that subscribe button. I think I'm 1 subscriber away from 400, which is like amazing. Thank you all so much for sticking with me and for joining me today. And whatever craft that you're into, I really hope you're enjoying, and happy crafting, and stay safe, look after yourself, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Hopefully next week.